Good morning. I forgot my Tibetan bells. The traditionally open space conferences are begun with bells. So welcome to Missoula Bar Camp 2011. And we're going to start not with actual open space, but with some lightning keynotes. And to get us started off, we have the Honorable Mayor John Engen, who is our 50th mayor and has done a lot of wonderful things if you look at the link that we have up on the website. And he's also going to be officiating at my niece's wedding next week. This man is everywhere, and he has a lot of demands on his time, so I'd like to give him the floor now.
Thank you, sir. I love theater in the round, Tom. I feel like belting out a little Shakespeare, except I can't remember any. Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave is man. That's a little Shakespeare, right? All right, that's all I got. Thank you very much, folks. Pleasure to see you today. It is lovely to see you. Thank you for being inside on what promises to be the most lovely day of the year. I'm always amazed at Missoula's capacity. This is such a weird way to talk to people. I'm always amazed at Missoula's capacity to get together for such a wide variety of stuff, including something that is as ill-defined as this program is today. Yet, this, my second time visiting you all, what I understand is that despite the lack of definition, all sorts of wonderful things happen, including big brains, thoughtful people, coming together to think about community. And last year I talked a little bit to you all about how we build community, and I think it has everything to do with our capacity to sort of let go of ourselves, which is not the easiest thing that we can do, but it tends to be the most productive thing. And over the course of the last year, it's occurred to me and sort of gets cemented by life events that the most satisfying pieces of my existence on this planet have very little to do with me and almost everything to do with how I help other people. And that help comes in forms, I think, elegant and goofy, and I think everything in between, and it all has merit. There is no higher calling than service to one another, and that service becomes manifest in delivering a meal to somebody who can't cook or is homebound, taking a photograph of someone who maybe has never had his or her photograph taken and has never seen himself or herself the way you see that person, and you bring a fresh view and sort of a new life to that person through a really simple act, all the way to loaning millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars to somebody who has a brilliant idea that makes other people's lives better. We all have some way to contribute, and clearly you're all here attempting to figure out some way to contribute one way or another in your unique way. I hope you have a great time doing all of that today, and just pretend it's not nice out, and I think you'll be just fine. In the meantime, thanks for all you do individually and for all you do collectively to help one another out and take care of one another. I appreciate that, and I'm going to full rotation all the way back here now as a matter of confusing myself. I'm becoming slightly dizzy. I think if you dance, you find a focal point and spin around. Is that not the technique? Yeah. So it is now my pleasure, as I recall, Harold, you gave me instructions. My job is to introduce Elke Govertson. Elke is one of those people who, again, is putting pieces together in an interesting way. If you've ever read Mama Load magazine, which I have done most recently because I wrote a very brief essay and have become an honorary mama. And I'm not sure what that means, but I'm comfortable with it, and I think that's the secret. So what Elke has done is figured out a way to bring people together in a way that nobody has before in Missoula, and she's spreading the word in pretty remarkable ways. She did not ask me to pose for the swimsuit issue, but I'm hoping there's an opportunity next year, provided that Speedo goes into a husky boy's size. So, with that, Elke, I don't know where you are, frankly. Oh, there you are, yes. Nice to see you.
So, as Mama Mare said, my name is Elke Govertson. I was born in Missoula and did most of my schooling up in Alaska, but my father taught at Sentinel High School for 33 years, so I am a Missoula girl, and came back after college. When I had my first son, I only knew a couple other people with children, and I looked to publications for resources and found myself slightly terrified by a lot of what I was seeing and hearing. It was kind of like when you're a 16-year-old girl and you get like 17 magazine and someone's airbrushed on the cover and how you feel about yourself. A lot of the parenting resources were similar to that. Mama Load is, for those of you that don't know, is a print and online publication. Started as a local Missoula publication. Technically, it still is. We do now have subscribers in 40 states and 6 other countries as well, though. And we have, I should have pulled my web managers here. Well, we have readers, our online readers are kind of all over as well. And what that really speaks to, I think, is content. And I think Missoula is rich in content, and people from other places can recognize and see that as well. I have some notes, so I make sure I hit all of my points. Mama Load started really with a party. I wanted a night out the night before Mother's Day. That's what I told my then boyfriend, now husband, that I wanted for Mother's Day. I feel like I'm just kind of pacing. So I got a bunch of my friends together who also had kids. Some of them are here. And about 40 of us got together, had a party. Within 3 years, it had grown to 500, and we had businesses that were calling us to sponsor it. We'd never advertised it. So I realized there was a need there, both for the moms and for the local businesses that were trying to find a way to target moms, which is a super powerful demographic for a lot of businesses. What we did was I only had $400 to throw at this event, this launch of a magazine. So I made a really nice media kit, and we went out and sold something that didn't exist until we had enough money to do the first issue. Ever since then, it has at least paid for itself and has taken care of itself and me. Don't tell the other local publications. We're doing fine. Actually, maybe do tell them. I don't know. So we figured it out. We figured out how to do a regional publication. We had local writers, photographers, great design. It's a free publication. The goal was always to make something free that didn't look free. So we invested in good paper and good design. We actually spend an entire day every time we do layout just on the ads and making sure that the ads, not only are there not full pages of like quarter page ads, but that they're integrated in with content that is somehow maybe relevant to that ad or design-wise, that the ads look like they're a part of the story as opposed to something that you're kind of sick of. So we do try and really consider the businesses as well as our readers, and that it all comes together. So then it was kind of time to figure out how to grow. We started distributing at the airport and through the Liquid Planet there. And all of a sudden, that's when we started getting subscribers in other places, because people were like, sweet, free magazine at the airport. I'll read it. And it started going everywhere. We also, our very first subscriber was a woman from Florida who had come to visit someone here. And it turns out she's a rather large blogger who has, she's one of those people who gets, her website stats are between, I think, 38 and 58,000 a day. So she was like, oh, I found this cool little magazine in Montana, and she wrote about us on her blog, and I think that day we had 300 new subscribers. So she's she's been really great and instrumental. She actually submitted an article for our new issue, which just came out. This is actually her cover shot as well, because there was that connection of her being our first subscriber. What we did, again, not really having a huge margin, because being a local publication, we were able to manage our local world, but now all of a sudden we had people outside. Again, I hadn't set aside a budget for that, so I think I did the same thing. It took about like $400. Again, $400 is my magic number. I can do anything with $400. With everybody that, from Kelly Hampton's blog and those first round of airport distribution subscribers, I took what would have been the margin on them and sent them all a priority rate envelope instead with 7 copies, and asked them to share it with their friends. And moms love to share, and moms also love to buy stuff. And so we now have these little cluster communities where, you know, they passed it out and they got their 8. And so we just have really utilized who our readers are and how they network to help us grow. I mean, that's what we do sell people, is that these readers will sell stuff for you. And so we better be utilizing that as well. We've also had some pretty awesome opportunities because we're in Montana and because we're in Missoula. And I think that it's really important to change that perception that Montana is a hard place to do business. It's really not. There's incredibly powerful, well-connected people in Montana, and there are no gatekeepers. And that's the key. You're one step away from anybody you really want to meet if you just ask. And apparently we're really good at asking. And I wanted to interview Connie Chung for our work issue. And I think the second person I asked was like, oh, she's my neighbor up in the Flathead. And so we were able to do an interview with Connie Chung about work. We were the first publication Connie Chung has actually ever run photographs of her child in. And not only that, that same fall, I was in New York for something else, and I walked by the building Connie Chung worked in, and I realized if I had lived in New York, there was no way I would have been able to get that interview. But because I was here, I could. And so I think that, especially in a group like this, and looking around at who's here, those of you that I know and those of you that I don't know, but starting to change that perception that we're up against something difficult, maybe we can move past that. We have some advantages, and we just need to really start capitalizing on them. I also, make a point of going to everything, even this, which I don't, as Mama Mayor, I'm just going to start calling him that all the time, and I think you should too, because it would really impact my brand if he just went as Mama Bear. But I don't actually drink, and my husband was like, I never thought you would go and speak at something called Bar Camp. And I was like, I know, huh? So I try and go to everything, and I've gone to all of the John Tester small business events, which I recognize lots of you from those. And I really work hard to make them super beneficial for myself. So at the last one, there was a guy from Facebook there, so I kind of pounced on him and told him I really, really wanted to interview someone from Facebook. And he, is sort of this guy who just goes around and does PR, but I kept hounding him after the fact. So in this issue, actually, which I have copies of over there if you want them, but you don't have to take them. I'm not like schlepping them for you, but I just thought you might be interested that I got to go to Facebook and interview Randy Zuckerberg. Yes, who's Mark Zuckerberg's sister. She's the head of marketing for all of Facebook, and she was expecting her first baby. So she was so psyched to get to talk about having a baby. And it's really funny, even in Silicon Valley and all of the digital wonderland that it is, people are super excited to be in print and to have a magazine that's in print. And same with these bloggers. Kelly Hampton has more readers by lunch than I have in a month on my website. And she was over the moon to have something in print that she could send to her mom. So I think, too, that, I think it's really important to recognize this that technology is allowing us to amplify what we already do. You don't have to come up with always these newfangled things. You use technology in a different way, but it's not all a reinvention either. So anyway, so I utilized the John Tester event to get to Silicon Valley. Again, I didn't have any money to go to Silicon Valley, but they were like, we can do an email interview or you can come here. And I was like, oh God, I gotta go there. So if any of you are taking notes, write down incumbent worker training money because it's part of the stimulus package. No, really, write it down. It's part of the stimulus money and it will run out. So I think people in Missoula should be using it because right now a lot of people in, I think Butte and Helena are really taking advantage of that money. It's state money that will send you to training and it'll pay for lodging, it'll pay for food. Depending on where you are, it's a matching, but it's worth taking advantage of. I'm great at all of that stuff. I'm good at making something out of nothing. But in order to get to California with this incumbent worker training money, I had to find some training to go to around the same time. So I wound up going to an event put on by Blog Her, which is an association of women bloggers, which I totally underestimated. I was just like, oh, that's cute. In the same way people look at me and go, oh, you do a magazine for moms, that's cute. And it drives me crazy when people do that. And then I did this to them. And so I went to this event because then I could get the money to fly to California and get a rental car and go a day early and go and hang out at Facebook, which was super cool. I got to update my Facebook status from Facebook. And the other really cool thing is that, I don't know if you know, when you set up your fan page on Facebook, your business fan page, you can't change the name once you get more than a couple people saying that they identify themselves with you. And I had set up as Mama Load Missoula, and then I was like, crap, now we have readers in other places, and I can't change it. And by the time I left Facebook, it was changed, so that was exciting. So again, you just gotta ask. You know, if you're afraid to ask directions, you're screwed. So get over it, ask. So yeah, I went with the incumbent worker money, went and did my Facebook thing, and then I was like, okay, now I have to go to this event because that's what thinking that the event itself was secondary to what I was doing, and it actually knocked my socks off. They, Blog Her, unbeknownst to me at the time, they actually have 26 million readers across their network of blogs. They're huge, they're wildly influential. They had speakers at this event. They had the head of acquisitions for Google. They had just anyone you could possibly imagine was there, and it speaks to the power they wield. And Blogger was actually started by a 1984 Hellgate High School graduate. Once again, Montana's a good place to do business. I walked in the door, this woman comes up and introduces herself to me, and she's got a little blogger name tag. I was like, oh, yes, yeah, I'm here from Montana. What do you do for Blogger? And she's like, oh, I'm the CEO of it. I was like, oh, yeah, clearly I'm an ass. And then we started talking about Missoula, and you'll actually get to read about her because we're interviewing her for our next issue. But you know, it's all there, and it's just it's all within your reach. If someone can do it with $400 and not even a huge vision for my company when I started, I really just wanted to be a Missoula magazine. You know, it's there. You can do it. I do think that at that Blogger event as well, they hook you up with a mentor. So my mentor actually was Patty Sellers, who's the editor-at-large of Fortune magazine, and she's the one who puts on the Fortune's Most Powerful Women issue and event. So she was great, because once again, she was like, well, okay, just consider yourself 1 degree of separation from anyone. Not anyone, blah, 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 just anyone. And so that's pretty fabulous. It's because you put yourself out there and because you get yourself there. While I have just a minute of your time, too, I did want to talk about just Missoula and Montana in general being such a phenomenal place to do business. Mama Load really, it kind of sits at this, it's probably perfect for this event, because we sort of sit at a precipice of art and community and technology. Our content and our design is pure art. We don't have an office We are a completely virtual, online, cloud-based company, in part because, like, I want to pick my kids up from school, and I don't really believe that I need to buy into that whole work-family conflict that is out there. And I don't think that my employees need to either. And I don't want to pay rent, and I don't need to. You know, we're able to do everything online through the cloud. My mom geek is sitting right here. If anyone needs a mom geek, I'll share a little. And that's actually what we call her. We're having a baby shower for her tomorrow for Baby Geek. And, but it allows us to work in a way that is congruent with the lifestyle we want, and I think that speaks to Missoula as well. With technology the way it is, Missoula really could be a place of huge worldwide impact in industry, and at many levels it is. I know Mama Mayor is working hard with her Best Place project, and I just think that, and there's Innovate Montana, there's all of these people and all of these levels that are really working to allow us and you to capitalize on opportunities that are out there. But I do think that as businesses and as consumers, we have a responsibility as well, not just to expect our government to get the big dogs to come here, but we need to play into that at some of those secondary levels, which means shopping downtown, because if there are no cool downtown businesses, big companies aren't going to want to come here and shop at Target because they live here. You know, we need to invest and start seeing every act we do really as a civic act, and our businesses as a civic act, because our businesses are what create the culture here. I think that a lot of times when we're trying to pitch ourselves to something bigger, we're underselling ourselves. We're selling ourselves on the cliche. And the cliche of the lifestyle and the recreation and the fly fishing is great. And maybe that's what we do to get them here, and then we should surprise the hell out of them. We shouldn't just keep feeding them the cliche. We should surprise the hell out of them with the art museum and the film fest and the things that we don't actually even have yet. And that we should look at all of those actually as civic and economic functions of our community that we should support. If we want opportunities and we want big businesses to come to us, we need to invest not only in the infrastructure but also the lifestyle. We've got the recreation thing dialed. And that's an easy sell, but it's not enough. I think that we do need to cultivate more of it, and I think that we just need to get, beyond lodgepole pine furniture and into something that's a little more sophisticated and new. And it's here, and I just think that we don't highlight it enough. We just need to be fleshing those out. I personally, it actually kind of makes my skin crawl when people say I'm lucky. I don't really believe in good luck. I believe in working your ass off. I believe in making and seizing opportunities. Let's see. And I think you take those opportunities further than you originally think every time, and you ride that train to the next opportunity. Who is it? Oh, Thomas Edison said, opportunity is missed by most people because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. Which I think is right on. It's a good quote, I agree. And so I just wanted to encourage this room of people who are here, not only to look at, Missoula economic development as also just one step bigger than you're seeing it, to look at it as opportunities for more businesses. I also think that, we are missing the boat when we keep talking about Missoula economic development and we don't bring in funding for schools into that conversation. If I were Blog Her, I wouldn't move here if the schools weren't good. But I'm not Blogger yet. Working on it. So I just want to encourage you all to seize opportunities, to make opportunities, to ask questions. there are people who can get you anyone you want to talk to. Apparently, I'm only 1 degree of separation from anyone, so now you all are just 2. And I'm not uncomfortable with asking either for you. So think big, and then think bigger for yourself and for your business and for Missoula, and then get to work. There you go. You don't want to hear what I have to say all day. Thank you.
Thank you, Elke. That was awesome. The next speaker is someone I was very excited that would be coming to Missoula Bar Camp. His name is Mike Steinberg. He is the dual director positions. So you're director of the Big Sky Film Festival, which is a very well-known, famous, wonderful resource for Missoula. And he's also the Webster University Film Series director, which is, they're both internationally recognized year-round film series. And there's a lot of other things I could read here, and I think I'm going to pass. Hope you don't mind. So with that, I'll give the stage to Mike Steinberg.
Thanks, Al. Okay. Hold on, let me get fancied up. Hey, hi, good morning. So that's right, I'm the director of the Big Sky Documentary Film Festival. And I'm delighted to be here. If any of you do need to leave to ascend upwards, go right ahead in the middle of my discussion. I understand it was just tricky timing. But I'll understand. Jewish guy making jokes about the rapture. I don't know if that's the best way to start off, but it's where we are. You know, I wasn't sure, as strange as it may seem, I wasn't sure why I was invited to speak today, and I just sort of, I'm just kind of a little thick. I thought, well, I don't really, you know, is it really something that I do? Is community something I do? I mean, I'm kind of a Luddite. I kind of, I can't stand technology for the most part, except making, you know, snarky comments on people's Facebook pages. And I thought, you know, is this really, I'm kind of a resistor of this kind of getting together and talking. I mean, that sounds terrible, but it's a total reality. And then I realized, okay, sure. I mean, Big Sky is like this, we are a hub for community. We provide, if you don't know, we provide every year 10 days of nonfiction films at the Wilma Theater, primarily, although we've kind of expanded out in the last year to other venues. We show about 140, 150 films from all over the world, culled from 1,000 films, which come in through our open call. We bring 75 to 100 filmmakers and people in the film industry to Missoula, and we collaborate with numerous community organizations and businesses to bring these films and present these films and promote these films to the community. So, okay, so that's how thick I actually am. When I got to that point, I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I belong at bar camp. And I never went to summer camp, so this is awesome. This is great. I'm really excited about that part of it. We're going to do like a campfire and stuff and raid the dorms, or what do you do? I don't even know what you do, because I didn't go. My conduit, you know, the way I got into this stuff is, it's actually, I'll just tell you this story. When I was 8 years old, this is before the Bloods and the Crips and the internet, and before gourmet and bagels. This was a long time. This was 1980. Yeah, you can do the math briefly if you want to. Okay, so when I was 8 years old, my dad had a movie theater in his basement. It was this 16 millimeter movie theater. You really couldn't rent videos. I mean, they didn't, like, they had the giant, you know, the big giant thing where if you know what that is. But we didn't have that. We had 16 millimeter projection. So every Halloween, we hosted this Halloween party where we'd show movies in the basement. And the first year, my dad showed The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Great. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie. It was actually in 3D, and he had a 3D film premiere. He had these little paper glasses. It was awesome. But my friends, you know, they thought it was the funniest thing in the world because well, it's super hokey, right? And when the creature grabs Dawn Adams, we were just like, yeah, get her. You know, we were just sort of rooting for the monster. And the next year, he showed King Kong, and you know, we were equally as eager for Kong to get Fay Ray and crush villagers. You know, so it was a great time for all of us. But I didn't find out till later that my dad actually wanted us to be afraid, right? To be scared like he was. These are the movies he saw when he was a kid. So the third year, he got a hold of a print of Night of the Living Dead, you know, George Romero's zombie movie. And I have to say, nobody was like yelling, screaming, or cheering on the zombies. I mean, we were genuinely terrified, right? With flesh eating and bark eating, and I mean, we didn't think of it as this metaphor for the Vietnam War or, you know, this great independent. We were just scared out of our minds, you know. So I don't know that there's a direct cause and effect. I don't know that I had these experiences and thought, oh, you know what? I think I'll maybe get involved with the film festival someday. But these experiences really did form a great experience for me in watching film. The four kind of purposes of communications: to entertain, to enlighten, to educate, and to create community. Because even, you know, of course, when we're cheering on, you know, King Kong and the creature from the Black Lagoon, we're creating this kind of community right there that didn't exist in my basement prior. And, you know, when we're terrified and we have to huddle together in masses, you know, because of zombies, that's something that also wasn't there before, this experience of bonding together. And it became, you know, so I was 10 years old, so what's that, like a fifth grade way, it became like this water cooler moment for all of us, you know, like the next day at school. It was this shared thing we had. So, you know, we're a little more sophisticated, or maybe we aren't, I don't know. I like to think we are, so that we're not really showing the zombie movies anymore at the film festival, or that's not what we're about, but in some sense, the same effect is there. So that we're entertained, we're enlightened, we're brought to this kind of understanding of who we are through what we see. And that's the purpose of that's Big Sky's purpose. I got into art. I got into art making as a very personal thing. You know, I was a painter, I was a poet, and in both cases, those things that I made they're pretty god awful, and I wouldn't want them to sneak out in the world somewhere. Eventually, I evolved into making things that other people might be interested in, and I think that's the natural evolution of any artist. I mean, you look inward, and sometimes the things you pull out are pretty uninteresting to other people, but maybe you get to a point where it's worth sharing. The kinds of stuff that we bring to Missoula each year, the kinds of films, we hope that that's what they are. With 1,000 entries and only showing, you know, 100 and something of those films, we hope that what we're bringing out are films that the community actually cares about. And that is, I think that is qualified in some sense by the sort of involvement that we have. Last year we hit a record for our attendance at 12,000 over the 10-day period. You know, part of that had to do with this big rock show that we had in the middle of it, but you know, that was like 900 people who came to that. But the other, you know, 11,000 something were people who were coming to respond to films that mattered to them. Films about artists, films about the environment, films about political events, history, and films on some level. I mean, I think the documentary has come to age in ways that, you know, it's not the History Channel, no offense if you're a big fan of the History Channel. It's not just that anymore. I mean, there's potential for nonfiction films to reach us in ways that they never had, because many of them are discussing things and presenting things that are much more profound and much more useful in our lives than just details about this particular bit of history or this science that we may just that may not affect us that deeply. There has been in the last 10 or 15 years a kind of revolution in media, so that any of us, if we want to, we can just go make a movie, right? I mean, you can probably make one on your phone, or whatever, your magic wrist. I don't know what that stuff is, which is great, which is wonderful. And it means that there's a lot more content out there, and there's a lot more personal ideas finding their way to a wider audience. I love that for today, the speakers, Elke and myself, are kind of old-fashioned, right? I'm talking about in an age where, with a click of the mouse, do you click the mouse? Well, I'm not that much of an idiot, but okay. In the age of the click of a mouse, you can access, great Japanese cinema, right? I mean, you can get whatever you want on the internet, and you can find out anything you want to read, right? But Elke puts out a paper magazine, and we host an event at a movie theater for 10 days. I mean, it's sort of wonderful that these things still matter. And I think why they do matter, this is where I'll kind of wrap this up, although I would like to host a get-together. I know we have to set our agenda a little later, but I would like to host a little workshop on how we could bring local stories to the wider world. But I'd sort of set myself off my train of thought. Oh, I think the reason why these old-fashioned things still matter is because they create, in ways that nothing else can, a kind of community, right? I mean, this physical magazine that you can share, as you said, send to your mother, and this place that you can go where there are like-minded people who are enjoying that film. I mean, certainly, I don't know if you've ever had this experience. I've had it many times where you watch a film alone, because I do watch many, many films alone. I watch something like 500 just for Big Sky alone, and another 100 or so for the event in St. Louis that Harold mentioned. You watch a film, and you don't even know what you think about it because you don't have anyone to kind of share with. I mean, it's great, it's Kurosawa, but beyond that, what do you really think? And so a forum like a film festival where there are people who have come from all over this community and from really around the world to participate, as well as something like, clearly today, Bar Camp, gives us an opportunity to sort of flesh this stuff out and find that bit or those bits that we want to run with. So I'm looking forward to the potential of something emerging today, because a million things certainly will, but I hope I can be of some use. And I want to reference back something that Mama Mayer Mama Mayer said earlier about being useful to the community at large. And I mean, I think that's what it kind of boils down to, service, right? I mean, why are any of us here? We might have brilliant ideas, but those brilliant ideas are sort of useless unless we can engage them in each other. So again, have a wonderful day today. I look forward to the possibilities of whatever's going to happen. Who knows?
Thank you very much, Michael. It's very inspiring. So I have the honor to introduce our next speaker, a friend of mine, a mentor, someone who has deeply impacted my life the last few years after I heard him speak at a conference in the computer world. And he really brings in the technology aspect in a way, even though he's not necessarily a hacker in the traditional sense of the word, but I believe he's kind of a reality hacker in a way, because he has some really good programs to help you hack your own ability to take control of your life and your team, help your team, and be present. He's an author. Dr. Christopher Avery authored a book called Teamwork is an Individual Skill. He offers a program that people can take advantage of on the internet and through the telephone. It's called the Leadership Gift. And he also is a consultant for corporations. I'm not going to remember all of them, but places like The Gap, eBay, Rally Software, and quite a few others. And he has flown out here from San Francisco for us. So I hope you'll give him a warm Missoula welcome to Dr. Christopher Avery.
Good morning. It is so cool to be here. If I can get this into my pocket. There. I need 3 volunteers in the front row about equal distant apart. 3 people willing to help me? Thank you. I'm going to ask you to hold this where the people over there can see it. You don't have to hold it way up above your head. It's great. Thank you, Elke. Inspiring. Congratulations. Someone over this way? Thank you very much. Just hold it so that those folks can see it. How many of you sometimes think about the decay of responsibility in our society and have some concern about that? Anybody? Anybody never think about that or have any concern about that? Cool. Cool. How many of you have heard that most experts of any kind of success or program or anything else say that taking personal responsibility is the first key to success in any endeavor? Have you heard that your whole life? You should take personal responsibility? Anybody never hear that? So 20 years ago, I got introduced to some research that started in 1984 that, for me, completely changed the conversation about what personal responsibility is and how it works in our minds. And I joined the research team, and I've been a promoter and evangelist of this research ever since. And so, Harold, thank you very much for inviting me to come here. There's a very special reason that I wanted to come here besides to accept Harold's invitation and get to see his wonderful town and this cool event that I know that Harold's done a lot to build. But my last trip to Missoula was in 1969. And my dad brought me here because he was born and raised in Anaconda. And his brother lived in Missoula with his family. And it's been a long time. So I figure it's about time I came back. Don't you? Yeah. Cool. My dad's not with us anymore, but I was asking Jennifer, who brought me here this morning, where is this elephant thing that I remember from when I was 13 years old? And she pointed out Mount Jumbo to me, so that was pretty cool. I want to acknowledge you for showing up today. I have been doing open space types of events and facilitation for probably 20 years. It's an amazing experience. Those of you who've done it before probably will agree with that. Those of you who are here for the first time, I think you'll really enjoy it. So the idea that you're going to have the conversations that you want to have with the people that you want to have them with is really an exciting way to have a conference. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to tell you a little bit about this responsibility research, and I'll propose a couple of sessions to help anybody who's interested get an introduction to this research, and then maybe we'll propose a session to help people who are in those sessions figure out how to apply it to yourself, to your team, to your family, to your schools, to your community. So here's what the research says. It says that we are hardwired as human beings to both avoid ownership for our consequences as well as to take ownership. We're hardwired, which means it's easy to avoid it, and it's easy in some ways to take it. It turns out that the language and the psychology of personal responsibility has to do with what you think about when things go wrong. So think about it. When you're in flow, when everything's going great, when life's good, when all the lights are turning green, you don't stop and say, I wonder who caused this. Right? But the moment something goes wrong, you spill coffee down the front of you, or that car stops short in traffic in front, or that important person doesn't come to your meeting, or you don't figure out how to get an education grant to go to Silicon Valley. You know, it's when things go wrong and you get that little bit of anxiety and upset that this process kicks in our minds. And it turns out that you start at the bottom of this chart that says lay blame, and you say something like, I wonder who put the milk carton back in the refrigerator completely empty. Right? Or you say, honey, have you seen my sunglasses? The premise being that she did something with them, right? And you can get stuck in that place of blame around your problem, or you can get off of it. If you get off of it, you graduate up. And you can get stuck in justify, which is telling a story or a narrative or an excuse, set of circumstances beyond my control. You get stuck there for the reason for your problem. Or you can graduate. If you graduate up, there's no more external to blame, so you have to blame yourself. No, I'm a dummy, I'm a dolt, I'm stupid, I did this. Shoot me. And you can get stuck there. Or you can get off of that, then you feel trapped in a place of no choice called obligation. And it's only when you refuse to actually act on any of these thoughts that you start pinging your mind for new answers, new solutions. So when I first saw this research, I went, wow, I spend an awful lot of time wallowing around in blame and justify. And I'm a pretty bright guy, and I'm pretty ambitious too. I want to know this stuff. So it's pretty cool that I'm now probably most associated around the world with this research, even though I didn't start it. But I have a strong intention to put it to use and to teach anybody else who wants to put it to use. And so the keys to practicing this, and to me now responsibility isn't who I am, it's not my character, because I fall to the bottom of that chart every time something goes wrong. Right? Like when the alarm went off this morning and I'd only been in bed 5 hours. You know? So it's not about my character of responsibility, it's about my practice. To me, responsibility is now a practice. And something I get to practice every time something goes wrong. So the keys are intention, have an intention to take ownership around everything in your life. 2, awareness, be able to catch yourself when you're in these places. And 3, confronting reality. So the reality hacker, I like that. Maybe I'll adopt that as a new title. You know? And only when we're willing to get out of denial and face reality can we then actually grow and learn. So in a way, to me, this process is the human growth process. It's the personal growth or personal development process of when we cross that line. It's natural, it's built into you, it's built into everybody you know. It has nothing to do with age, gender, race, intellect, level of education. If you think about it, the smarter we are, the better stories we make up. So it's in our nervous system. It's not in our intellectual mind. And I'll probably leave it at that. You can go to ChristopherAvery.com and download a PDF of this poster and print up as many of them as you like and put them wherever. I recently got an email from a guidance counselor at a big high school campus in Plano, Texas that said she just printed out 150 copies of it and hung it out all over the campus. You know, go girl. And also see me while we're here today, and I've got a little pocket card of it in case you want to wear it in your wallet or purse or maybe even in your little name tag if you'd like. And let me see if I've said all the things I want to say. I think I have. So I'll probably leave it at that. I plan to be with you all day today. I think it would be cool if you wanted to propose a session on this topic for the people that you wanted to talk to about this topic and how to incorporate it into your important community. And maybe I'd show up at your session and help talk about that. So thanks very much. It's cool to be here, and I look forward to practicing the law of 2 feet with you today as we do open space. Thanks, Harold.
And thank you for what you're bringing and what you continue to bring, not just for us, but I just really appreciate your work. So now we're going to go into the open space. And I have a question. How many people here have actually been to an open space technology facilitated conference before? Can maybe raise your hand? Thank you. That looks like about a third. So the way open space technology works, I will explain. And first I'd like to also just go a little bit into our theme, even though it's been expressed by our 3 speakers very well. art, change, and technology, they really seem to be, to me, really glowing elements of our community. And I wouldn't have necessarily thought that technology was something particularly stellar in Missoula, but when I got to know a lot of the technologists here, I was just amazed. I was just really amazed. And maybe they were a bit more independent than you would find in other communities, a little less into big hordes and hives like maybe in other parts of the country and the world. But they're really smart and really intelligent, and I believe that when they get together, maybe here at Missoula Bar Camp, we can trigger the end of the world, but maybe not. Just the art, there's so much art here. I don't even need to say anything about that. And the number of nonprofits here in Missoula is the highest density in the country. That is a bit unfair, possibly, because of the Elk Foundation has all of their chapters here, registered here in Missoula. But even without that, there's still a very, very high number. And you just talk to people here, meet them on the street, there's so much awareness of the need to protect our environment because we're just surrounded by so many beautiful national forests, and that's why I'm very, very glad to be here, to be able to see them from the center of this conference. So what I'm going to do eventually is invite you to come here to create this conference. This is your conference, you're creating it, and you're responsible for it. And the tools for that are going to require that you come here in the center and speak into this microphone, which one of us will hold so people can speak into it. And you'll be showing your what you write onto here, which will be a short statement, no PhD dissertations. And then you'll go over to there and pick a time slot and a space. And the spaces are marked with letters. On those two maps, you can see where those places are. The wonderful thing about Open Space Conference, when it's done well, is there's always room for more. So if you see that there's no more little slots there, it's just because we haven't gotten there to put more. So we can make more space, especially on a beautiful day like this. And one of the sessions is in the fire pit, which we have permission to use. But we can also, as we had in the second one, we just went out by the river and we grabbed a bunch of seats and we chatted, and those were some of my favorite sessions from the second Missoula Bar Camp. And one session last year, we hiked up to the M. So use your imagination. This really is your conference. If I'm up to it, I will announce that. I will propose that one myself, but I wouldn't count on me because I'm a little under the weather today. So feel free to announce as many hikes as you like, and maybe a tour of the campus is a possibility. And it's really nice to talk when you're moving. It's like a different space. It's amazing the space that you're in, how much that architects your experience and the way that things flow. So the way that this works, and I'll go through the mechanics again, but the way that this works is designed he doesn't like to call it design, he likes to call it discovered. Harrison Owen in about 1984 had spent over a year organizing a conference, an international conference, setting up panels and sessions, and I'm sure there were committees and discussing who's going to get to talk when. And when it was all over, people said, oh, it was a great conference, but you know, Harrison, my favorite part were the coffee breaks. And the way he relates it is after the second martini, being down about that, he thought, if I were to do this again, he thought about his experience with the Peace Corps, and he thought, just set up a circle, because they gather in circles, and have people self-organize around a marketplace. So that's what we're going to do. And the principles around that Since we're meeting in a Native American, and I don't know if you know the medicine wheel, but this is aligned by the four directions. The Native Americans have a much more grounded feel for our presence on the planet. So I invite you to do that. And there was, Harrison also put the medicine wheel in his book, the Open Space User Guide. So we've aligned the four principles on the four directions because they actually seem to fit. So I will start with the north, which is that way, which if you are hosting a session, this is useful to think about these four principles. Whoever comes is the right people, and that includes you. And you have the responsibility, if you have passion for something and are willing to take responsibility for it, to step up and host a session. And when people come to it, since anyone can come or not come, those people are the people that care. So they're the right people. And if only you show up, maybe you're ahead of your time. And I have been in that place many times myself. And it could actually be a great time to meet with yourself. I did that in an open space conference. I was bummed no one showed up, but I thought, I'm just going to start writing my thoughts out about this topic. And it ended up being really nice. I was proud of the writing, and someone showed up halfway through. So you might end up having something that can be even more valuable that maybe a lot of people will come to because you put your own self into it. The next principle, I'm going to move to the east. Whenever it starts is the right time. And I can really get hung up on timing and things, but the reality is things happen when they need to happen, when they're supposed to happen. And the sun rises when it rises, whether you want it to or not. So to the east, when it starts is the right time. And to the south, this is not right. Is that south? Okay, well that should have been there anyway. Whatever happens, this is perfect. Whatever happens is the only thing that could have. So, it happens. Lots of things happen in life, and if you put the energy and the passion and you create something and people show up and it isn't exactly what you imagined it to be, this is a really great time to embrace that. There's the principle in improvisation that uses this as well, that to embrace the mistakes are gifts. And if you look back in your life, I look back a lot at my age and notice that some of the most painful, difficult times of my life were actually the places where I grew the most, where I learned the most, where some of the most amazing things came to me. So if things don't go quite the way that you wanted them to, maybe the universe just happened to have a better plan than you did. And maybe it's a good time to embrace it. And then the last one, when it's over, it's over. So if you get done and you're finished and everyone feels like this topic is done after 5 minutes, let it go. And when it's not over, it's not over. If you are still so much in the passion of the topic and it's about to close, collect everyone's emails, phone numbers, make sure that you can continue the conversation, or collect everyone and go find us another spot that no one's using and keep the conversation going. There is no reason that just because this schedule that us guys that really don't know that much threw something together and threw that on that wall there, don't let that dictate your experience here. So when it's over, it's over. Now, the center portion I put in the middle here is the law of 2 feet. And simply this goes, and if anyone were here with a wheelchair, it would still apply. So the law of 2 feet, also known as motion and responsibility, is that if you ever find yourself in a place where you're not either learning or contributing, it is your responsibility to move to someplace where you are. And I really stress this a little bit more forcefully. I think I'll tone it down a little bit, but I told someone else when I facilitate, open space, I bark at people about this, but you really, please, don't stay someplace where you're not, because you're really actually sucking the space. It's like deflating the balloon. So move someplace where you feel your spirit flowing and your energy moving. That will be a gift to all of us, is to go where you have your passion and your energy. Now, the law of 2 feet has 2 creatures it creates that are over there. The first is the actually usually spoken of as a bumblebee. So when people have that freedom, what a lot of them people do is they buzz between sessions. I am a big bumblebee. And I introduce you to a couple verbs here. To bumblebee. I invite you to bumblebee, which is, you're going to be, if you're bumblebeeing, you'll be cross-pollinating sessions, and that is very valuable service. That is not a disservice. If someone bumps into your session and they start asking questions, they might be something that will help shift your thinking to the place where it'll solve the problem or present a new light. And maybe what they'll be doing is if they're bumblebee out, maybe it's not, oh, we lost someone. Our session isn't as big as the Joneses over there. Oh, boo-hoo. No, maybe that's great. Maybe they'll take your ideas and they'll cross-pollinate and everyone will be buzzing about it. And you might not even know. I mean, it might happen a year from now. It's hard to say. So just trust that that's okay. And the other animal is the butterfly. And I really started to embrace the butterfly. When I do open space, often I find that I'm so greedy, I'm completely beat afterwards because there's so many good things happening and I wanted to experience every single darn one of them. The butterfly is a wonderful creature. The butterfly might not even make it into a session. They might just kind of hang out there and look at the grizzly bear. They might not come to your session and just kind of hang out by the cooler and chat. And what Harrison Owens says, the bumblebee has one function alone, which is to be beautiful. And there's, the butterfly is an important creature in chaos theory as an attractor. And the butterfly is also used as a metaphor for the huge impact a small force can have, such as the story of a butterfly in Thailand flapping its wings and causing a tornado on the other side of the world because of the incredible power of initial conditions. So just invite that. If you just want to, just hang out somewhere, and if you're not feeling like you're learning or contributing and you're not really attracted to any of the sessions, or you just want to, yeah, just relax, because I've done that, and someone just came over to me and we just had a great time. So with that, I'm going to now invite you into the actual mechanics. So, oh, I forgot one more. Be prepared to be surprised, which is really about letting go of your agenda, and also that in open space, really this is true in life in general, but if you go into something and then you come out with this exact same body of knowledge as you went going in, it's kind of a loss for everyone. So open space really is about everyone getting to learn. So be prepared for that. I've certainly already been surprised several times today. So the mechanics. In less than a minute, I'm just going to be quiet. I'm going to go away, and it'll be yours. You're going to come up here, fill something out. You're going to talk into a microphone, announce it, please, like only a couple sentences at most, because we want to give everyone our audience for this, for their announcements. Once you've announced your session, go over there, pick a slot, put it up on the window there, grab a blue tape. For 11 a.m., the noon session is a little longer because it gives time for people to get their lunches. Then there's 1:30, 2:30, 3:30. I'm hoping all of our slots will fit in there. If not, we'll just have to make do. We hoped for larger whiteboards than that, but that's what we got. So that's what we got. And once you do that, please sit down. If you have another session to write, go ahead, pick up another one. But what's going to happen is someone else will be announcing And what I've seen happen a lot when people don't do that is it just gets to really get kind of crazy, and people don't get their sessions heard. So when no more sessions are being announced and there's a pause long enough, what we'll do is everyone will move these chairs away. People will go over to the wall and you'll put your initials on the things that resonate with you. I forgot. When you put your session here, please put your name on them. This is very important. Put your name on them. So if you see 2 sessions happening at the same time that you wanted to go to both, this is your opportunity to negotiate with the sessions person who announced them. And this is kind of the marketplace, and move things around, try to optimize them. If you need resources and one of the slots, maybe you can trade for someone who doesn't necessarily need a projector in a projector room. We have couple extra projectors. You can also ask me or Nick Schontz. Nick or Lance Fisher has an extra. So just ask if you need to borrow one. And once everyone's, well, pretty much when you get up from your chairs and move this out and you start signing stuff, it's up to you. It's your conference. And lunch will come out about noon. And then we'll all gather back here. We'll reassemble the chairs at 4:30, and we will share, probably do it popcorn style, just to reflect the highlights of the conference, your personal experience, and then we will close around 5:30. So given that, I'm going to give it to you.